So Rav Yonatan, we're going to do another story. This story is a very, very famous story. So I'm going to read the text, and then we're going to discuss it. Okay, so this story is about Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish from Bava Metzia, 84a. Okay, so here's the story. One day, Rabbi Yochanan was swimming in the Jordan River. Reish Lakish saw him and leapt into the Jordan after him. Rabbi Yochanan said, "Your strength for Torah, in other words, your strength should be used for Torah." Reish Lakish said, "Well, you should use your beautiful women." Rabbi Yochanan said, "If you return to Judaism and to God, I will give you my sister who is more beautiful than me." Reish Lakish accepted. Reish Lakish tried to go back and collect his weapons, but he was not able to go back. Rabbi Yochanan taught him a lot of Torah and taught him oral Torah, and he made him a great man. One day, Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish had a debate while they were learning. The debate was the following: the sword and the knife and the military spear and the hand sickle and the harvesting sickle, from where do they acquire ritual impurity? From the time when their production is complete, or and when is their production complete? Rabbi Yochanan said, from when they are tempered in the furnace. Reish Lakish said, from when they are polished with water. Rabbi Yochanan said to him, "A thief knows about the tools of thievery." Reish Lakish said to Rabbi Yochanan, "And how have you benefited from me? There they call me master, and here they call me master." Rabbi Yochanan said to him, "I have benefited you by bringing you under the wings of the Shekhinah." Rabbi Yochanan became very upset, and Reish Lakish became very sick. Rabbi Yochanan's sister came and cried, and she said to Rabbi Yochanan, "You should pray for Reish Lakish." Rabbi Yochanan said, "Leave your orphans, I will sustain them." "Do it for the sake of my widowhood," said Rabbi Yochanan's sister, "and put your widow's trust in me." Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish died, and Rabbi Yochanan grieved over him greatly. The rabbi said, "Who shall we send to ease the mind, to learn with Rabbi Yochanan? Let us send Rabbi Elazar ben Padat, whose ideas are very sharp." Rabbi Elazar ben Padat went and sat before Rabbi Yochanan, to learn. Every statement that Rabbi Yochanan would say, Rabbi Elazar ben Padat would say to him, "There is another opinion that supports your opinion." Rabbi Yochanan said, "Are you like Bar Lakish? Bar Lakish, when I would believe a thing, he would challenge me with 24 objections, and I would answer him with 24 answers, which led to a fuller understanding of the Torah. And you say, is there another opinion that supports me? Do I not already know how good my belief is?" Rabbi Yochanan went out and tore his clothes and cried out loud, "Where are you, Ben Lakish? Where are you, Ben Lakish?" He shouted this until he lost his mind and passed away. The rabbis asked mercy for him, and he died. Okay, Rav Yonatan, a little bit of a longer story, but a very powerful story. Go on, let's start from the beginning. What are your thoughts on how they met?
First of all, it's one of my favorites, and I'm glad you brought it. It's kind of difficult even to where do we dive in,
Let's start with the beginning, how they met. What is the story, the Agadah, trying to teach us about how they met and who they were when they met?
Well, we see the characters, at least of Reish Lakish, of this strong, big, powerful. I mean, he's a thief. Mm-hmm. He later becomes one of the greatest sages, of the oral tradition of that time period. But before that, he was the leader of this group of thieves. I think he was also a barbarian, a gladiator. He lived a very different lifestyle than we think about a rabbi would have lived. And so, just that understanding of Reish Lakish, like we spoke about in the introduction, of how important it is to understand the people behind the laws. Mm-hmm. There's a powerful lesson there that one can start as a gladiator and a thief, and use that koach and that power and turn it around towards Kedusha. That's what Rabbi Yochanan saw in him.
That's an amazing thing for you to begin with, which is their background. So, Reish Lakish, in our language, he's not religious. He's not born religious. And not only that, he's a gladiator. He's obsessed with physicality, stealing. He's the epitome. I guess he symbolizes physicality in this story. And Rabbi Yochanan, on the other hand, symbolizes spirituality. He's born religious. He's already a great sage. and they both say to each other, which is a great, Reish Lakish said, you should use your beauty in the way that I want you to use it, and Rabbi Yochanan says, well, you should use your power in the way I want you to use it. And they eventually form this amazing friendship, realizing both of them have something to give each other. What's interesting is after they meet, actually before we move on, I think that's a very powerful thing which you mentioned, which is a person who starts developing a connection to the Torah and developing their relationship to God must realize that God wants them to utilize their talents rather than deny them. And that is the beginning of the story, and we should not move on until we really emphasize that. Reish Lakish is known for being strong, and Rabbi Yochanan says, use that koach for the Torah. And I think Rashi says, like, to overcome your Yetzirah, but nevertheless, a spiritual person needs to have strength, discipline, and you have that. You were a gladiator, you were a thief, you had wisdom, maybe not in a conventional way, but it has to be channeled towards your soul, towards God. And I think that's an amazing thing for a story to begin with, which is if you're going to transform yourself spiritually, don't deny your personality, channel it.
Transform it, beautiful, amazing, yeah.
So let's go to the second part of the story, and I want to ask your opinion and interpretation. So they get in this debate, and it's not necessarily important exactly what they get, but it's about something that touches both of them in a wrong way. And once they get into the debate, they stop learning with each other, and Rabbi Yochanan is offered a new learning partner. In other words, Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan are famous for learning together, which is called a chavruta. For many, many years together, they were famous chavrutot. And then when they part ways, Rabbi Yochanan is offered a new student. So I want to ask you, maybe you can reiterate it and repeat what the story was, but what do you think the meaning is behind this new student that comes to Rabbi Yochanan and why he doesn't like him?
Well, I think this is so relevant to the world we're seeing today, unfortunately, is the lack of dialogue between people that disagree with one another. We don't have the tools or the keys to be able to speak to one another because everything's so polarized. So that I think is one of the deep messages of the story, or at least the realization, right? When Rabbi Elazar steps in to Reish Lakish's place, and he's learning with Rabbi Yochanan, he's supporting all of his positions. Oh, great idea. Let me tell you 5 ways that you're right and another couple ways that you're right. And even though, if we think about it, like, who wouldn't want someone else around them all the time, telling them how right they are and how great what they're saying is.
It's like you post something on Facebook and everyone likes it.
That's right. You get 1 million likes, and
Rabbi Yochanan's upset about that.
Yeah, at first maybe he did enjoy it. We don't get the progression of it, but at a certain point, he starts to realize, oh my, what did I do? And he has this tremendous moment of calling out of remorse. Reish Lakish, Ben Lakish, Ben Lakish, which is so powerful because the realization is, we talked about the redemptive moment in the other story of Elazar ben Dodai. The redemptive moment here is the appreciation of someone who disagrees with me and sharpens my perspectives and allows for the unfolding of the conversation through this dialectic is actually much more beneficial towards our greater goal, i.e. truth, true understanding, than having someone who sits here and supports me all the time. I can't get there with Rav Elazar.
I mean, the exact words in the Gemara, we'll say it in English, is, he would ask me 24, he would, rebuttal, argue 24 things, and I would come up with 24 answers. In other words, look how much wisdom came about because somebody disagreed with me, had a different opinion. And yes, it comes back to that idea at the beginning of the story, which is they're different people to start out with. It's not like they chose those opinions. It's an expression of who they are. And Rabbi Yochanan eventually realizes, why did I separate from him? Why did I stop talking to this friend of mine just because he was different from me? It was actually a very healthy relationship, and it challenged him. And I think today, in our desire often to be like liberal and open-minded, sometimes we're afraid to argue and disagree with people. And in this story, Rabbi Yochanan says, I don't want to live with people who always agree with me. I want to be with people who are interesting, who are thought-provoking, which doesn't mean we don't agree on basic values. Obviously, they couldn't sit in the same room if they didn't have basic values, but those nuances are real, and it's what makes life rich and beautiful. And he really gets sad at the end, where is Reish Lakish? I miss him so much.
This is really an appreciation of machloket, which sometimes is translated as argument. I like to translate it as creative conflict. The appreciation of machloket as the ideal.
L'shem Shemaim.
Yeah, as long as it's L'shem Shemaim, right?
Yeah.
I can't get to this higher ideal without machloket. This was the key. These are the tools in order to reach that. By the way, an incredible perush on this story is in the Mea Shiloach, where he talks about Adam and Chava, Adam and Eve as first man and first woman, this idea of ezer kenegdo, of a partner against me, so to speak. That's how they were created against one another. And the Mea Shiloach, the Ish Bitzer Rebbe says, well, the story of Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish illustrates this so beautifully, that only when you have someone who challenges you, who debates you, who doesn't accept everything you say and nod their head along with it, can you evolve and grow as a person. So not just in our intellectual lives or our spiritual lives, but in our deeper and most fundamental relationships as well.
And I think this is a sign of a powerful lesson, that it can live with tension. And this story really does live with tension. There's no simplistic answer at the end, like, oh, they got back together. Like, he really lost out. Like, they never got to be with each other and talk to each other again because of this misunderstanding of what makes a good relationship. So I think any person who's listening, think in your own life, where maybe you had a relationship with somebody, or even with a teacher, or with a relationship with your own religion, your tradition, where you had disagreements. This story is saying it's okay to have disagreements with your tradition, with your religion, with your parents, with your friends. That, like you said, what is it? Creative conflict is what makes life rich. And do we really want to live with people who always are exactly like us? I mean, it's just we're too much in our heads anyway. Really, I want everyone else to be like me. So again, I think this story is so powerful. It's such a healthy episode, a lesson of how we can develop powerful relationships that include differences.